Welcome to Storycomic Presents, where we interview amazing storytellers and artists. This is episode 506. I'm your host, Barney Smith of Storycomic.com, and we're excited to have with us the internationally acclaimed and celebrated children's book author, Maureen Devlin. Maureen.
Hi, Barney. So glad to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
You're welcome. See, this is fun. I always love the pre-interview conversations, and so we were talking everything about Circus Smirkus to coffee to Seattle. We were all over the place, Maureen, huh?
We were. I'm scared about what we're going to end up talking about now after that conversation. What else were you worrying me about?
So I was really excited to learn about your books, Backer and Backer. So, and this is that you have a series. You have 5 books out so far, correct?
I have 5 out now, and 1 is coming out soon. So it'll be
okay, all right. So explain a little bit to our listeners and our viewers out there exactly what's the origin story of Backer and Backer.
Right. So can I first tell you what this means, so people aren't wondering what the Backer and Backer aspect means, and then I'll tell you how that got started. So
sure.
The concept of these books is taking something that a child might encounter in his or her daily life. Typically, in the first 5 books, we have an apple that a child is sharing with a friend. We have a hat that a kid is wearing on her head. We have a red bouncy ball that the kids are tossing back and forth to each other. We have a pretty picture that a little boy drew for his mother. And then the fan favorite, which is the puppy that a little girl adopted from a shelter. So the idea is to take, instead of going forwards to talk about how something is made or acquired, we kind of go backwards. So we go step by step by step backwards in time to the origin of the thing. So I'll give you one of the examples, the apple. So the idea is this child is sharing an apple. That's lovely. And the storyline progresses to, but how did the child get that apple? Let's go backer and backer to find out. So the next page would be, well, the dad gave the apple to the child. Okay, well, how did the dad get the apple? Oh, he got it. This is the store where the dad bought the apple. Well, how did it get to the store? Well, here's the grocery clerk who chose the apple to put on the shelf. Okay, how did it get to the store? Well, here's the truck driver who drove the apple to the store where the grocery clerk then put it on the shelf, and then the dad bought it. Well, how did it get into the truck? Well, these are the the farm workers who picked and packed the apple to get it into and then put it in the truck. So that on and on and on, all the way back to this is the apple tree that grew the apple. So I do that with all of the books, and I keep sort of repeating and adding on each page to the Backer and Backer story. So I do that with all of these, including the puppy. And the idea is a phrase. I didn't come up with this phrase. My daughters came, one of them, and I always feel so bad. I don't remember which one because they're twins and I can never remember who said what. Sorry, girls. So they are still, they're 27, especially when they were younger. They are incessant question askers. I mean, incessant, just nonstop. So they would ask a question. Well, where did this come from? And then that was never the simple one step back never satisfied them. So we had to go. So one of them at one point said, let's go. So we're going to go backer and backer. We just went backer and backer to find out. And I was like, that's exactly what we did. We went backer and backer to find this out. And so I kind of stole that. I suppose I should, give them a shout out in the books. But that's where it came from. The kids asking questions and never being satisfied with the simple answer.
So when did you, what was the moment you realized, like, I need to turn these into kids' books then?
don't know that there was a moment. I think these, I've always, since my children were little, I've always had this concept in the back of my head that I had the stories and the subject matter in my head before it sort of dawned on me that this could be a book. This could be a real book, like a published book. So it just sort of morphed from this idea in my head. And, again, it's been, 20 years of this, just thinking about things backwards. I wish I could tell you there was some aha one moment, but there wasn't. It just sort of grew. I have, there's reasons why I chose this particular time to start writing these books, and I can get into that if you want.
Well, then I guess what was the most, I guess my other quick question though is like, what was the most hilarious why question you've ever been hit with that, like the mid-bedtime?
I can't say that on a family radio show. It involved, why would you want to go through the process of making babies? Is that inappropriate? Do you want to edit that out?
Well, I was going to say,
try to explain that one to a child.
Yeah. Well, you didn't do it with a playful puppy because you didn't show two dogs kind of like going on a date or anything?
I didn't write these when the kids were small. These were concepts when the kids were small, not not actualized books.
It's like when a mommy dog and a daddy dog love
each other. Got it. Yeah, we didn't do that. So right, but the question was why? Why would Okay. Yeah. I mean, can I say these things? I don't know. So the idea is that they always tell you, and they meaning the parenting experts, only answer the questions that the children ask. They're only going to want the information that they can handle. But mine would never stop. So this is how we got to this point of having to explain to a 4-year-old, why anybody would want to engage in activity that might produce a child without actually producing a child. So I'm not kidding. This is the way my house was. Okay, so you can edit that out if you need to for the censors.
No, that's fine. No, so why do you think like the backer structure works for kids' brains? Then you kind of mentioned it, but what do you?
Yeah, I do think it works well for kids' brains because it's very immediate. So the concept makes it more manageable, right? Instead of because the thing that that the book is about is in their hands or on their lap, and so they see that thing, and then I just think it makes it a little more concrete to go backwards. It's easier instead of saying, well, this apple comes from a tree. That's a lot of steps involved there. To just break it down into individual steps that the kid can really wrap his or her head around and understand it. I think that's why, and I think they work well with children because there's a lot of repetition. So the kids can kind of anticipate what's coming next because on each page I repeat the previous steps. So you end up with this very long run-on sentence by the end of the book. But I think that helps the kids to sort of conceptualize and make concrete some of the ideas that they are exploring in the book. And it gives them that sense of rhythm. So they sort of get the idea of what's going to come next. There's something going to come after this. It's a little bit of, they might be guessing in their minds about what the next step is, but they understand that the next several pages are going to be the next step and the step before that and the step before that.
So how do you keep the facts in a book like this, keep them from sounding like a lecture, more or less?
Right. You don't want to do that. That's just boring, right? And also there's plenty of books out there that go forwarder and forwarder to talk about how things are made and so I wanted something a little bit different. It was so that's why I feel that the going backwards and repeating and making it sort of fun, almost like it's just very lyrical. And then the other aspect of this that I had very little to do with, I'd just like to give a shout out to the illustrator, Nancy Conde, who's like amazing. So these illustrations, I can say this because I didn't do the illustrations. The illustrations are just really beautiful. She's amazing. And so that keeps the child engaged as well. And it's also because it's not theoretical. It's a real thing that the child understands and uses, if not every day, then, certainly has come into contact with.
Okay.
And I think kids have that natural curiosity. They may not say initially, like, well, where did this come from? But I think once you start asking them questions about that, where do you think this came from? What do you think? Then their minds start going, and they start trying to think about it, which is honestly one of the main goals that I have. Is I want children to think about where things come from and who's involved in getting that apple or that rubber ball to their hands. Like, I want them to understand this, and I want them to wonder about it. And I want them to appreciate all of the steps involved. It's not magic that makes these things happen for them.
Well, hey there. If you're enjoying our podcast, don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or leave us a 5-star review on your favorite podcast platform. Your support means the world to us and helps us keep this show going. We love hearing from you, so any feedback is welcome. And thank you for being a part of our podcast family and for all your support. It truly means a lot to us. What do you say the age range is for this again, Maureen?
I would say like 2 to 6. The pictures are fine for under 2s, but probably pre-readers mostly. I think it would help also with some of the reading skills because, again, you repeat the words over and over again, so they see them multiple times. So if you're reading it with the child, you can kind of point to and then, I'm sure your kids did this too. They kind of memorize, the books, and they think they're reading it. And I think for the emerging reader, is that what they call them now? Emerging readers. It's a perfect age for them.
Well, then so you bring up too, because it's, I was talking to a previous author mentioning it's like that children's books is almost like dog food in the sense that dogs don't buy their own food. Their owners buy the food. So like the same thing, the kids don't have the wallets and walking in and picking the books. The parents are buying the books. So how did you have these books also relate to adults? Because adults are also going to be reading it. And it's the successful books like this one are the ones that actually have really good, rereadability to them.
Right. Exactly. Right. And yes, I love, there's nothing that I loved more than sitting on the couch with my twins and reading books to them. I mean, I just loved it. It's such a beautiful, cozy luxury to engage in, to sit with your child and read a book. And what I want is for the reading pace to kind of slow down, right? And to look at this and to create, as the book is being read, I'm hoping that children, interrupt the story and ask questions about, what they're seeing in the pictures or what they're hearing from the words. And I think that engaging in that, encouraging that kind of dialogue, that questioning and that listening, I think is really crucial. It's a real bonding experience for the children and for the parents. I think getting into those little crazy little minds is fascinating, sometimes a little terrifying, but mostly fascinating. To just slow down, look at this, and then use that premise of, maybe the next time you see something else, like, I don't know, the glass or a scooter or a bicycle or whatever the child is using, it would be, perhaps the adult might then use that same strategy. Like, gee, I wonder how this got made. I wonder how that got here. Or the food on the child's plate. How did we get
Right.
that toast from, it started from a wheat stalk, So I hope it encourages families to talk, um,
Mm.
and parents to listen to the insights and the questions that the children might have.
Well, it's interesting because as children's books goes, it's like your theme isn't really like slice of life teaching children how to behave or whatever. It's like
Right,
you're giving them it's there's science behind it too.
right.
So you're very intentional about the factual learning of these books. So what was your process for checking details?
So this is interesting because this has been writing these books has been and continues to be a humbling experience, and on so many levels. Like I have several that I'm currently working on that I can't really seem to finish because the reality is I don't know anything. That's the reality. I think one of these books is about the crayons that the kid is using to make a. I don't know how that works. So I actually have to, I thought I have no idea, so I have to spend the time actually researching this stuff, and then taking that and then synthesizing that down to 12, 14 pages in a picture book. So I really had to learn a lot about all kinds of, I had to ask a lot of questions. I talked to people because I don't want to have things be wrong. That's not good. But I also don't want, like you said earlier, you don't want it to be a lecture. You don't want it to be like boring. And
Right.
then you have to figure out which steps to cut out of the process, right? I mean, you're not going to go through the whole thing. Like, you have to decide how many steps you want to, what are the essential steps here? Because
Right.
you could go on and on, I didn't say like, this is the food inspector who, inspects the apples I could have, but you have to kind of distill it down a little bit. You know what I mean? This is, and you have to, keep it positive. Like there are parodies which could be made of some of these, books for like the workers and the,
Right.
you don't really want to go there. Although if the kids start asking questions about that, maybe um, that would provide some fodder for discussion in the family.
So let me ask you then for teachers, like if a teacher only had 10 minutes after a read aloud, what's the simplest extension activity you'd recommend after one of these books?
So I would pick one of the books, maybe the food book, I would go with the food book. And there are activities on my website. There's activities for educators and for parents to engage the children in the process. I might, if it was a food item, I might choose a different food item and see if they can come up with some different steps. Or like you said, the milk, then there may be other issues with bringing food into the school and blah blah blah. So, but
Right.
a toy or oh, there we go.
Yeah.
There's the website, right? So there's all kinds of ideas on there for what you might do to enhance the learning from that book. And then I would encourage parents and educators also to come up with similar themes, but not necessarily the same. I think that's probably that to me is the most important part, is like to come up with your own,
Right.
or even just the questions. What would one very simple activity is, what would you like to know more about? What do you
Mm.
want to know about, where it comes from? And I think it would be fascinating for kids to be able to tell you that. Maybe they're stuffy. I don't know. Maybe it's something I never even considered. So
Right.
I'm so I want to get back to your earlier question a little bit too, because the uh, the humbling aspect of this, when kind of feeling dumb, basically, I just feel like my next there's two I'm working on that I thought, oh, this will be simple, and one of them is getting a cool drink of water from the tap. Oh, okay. And the other is flicking the light switch on, and how does the light come on? I have no
Right.
idea. I have no idea. I'm trying to understand this. I'm not, I have a bachelor's degree, I have a master's degree, I have a JD. I'm like an educated, reasonably intelligent person. And I could not explain to you how you go from flipping a light switch to getting the light in this room. I have no idea. Actually, I had to put it away. I was getting so frustrated. I couldn't understand because it starts talking about atoms and positive charges and negative charges, and I'm like, okay, that's just too much. But I think but being able, okay, so here's the thing. You have to first understand it before you can distill it. You have to understand it yourself before you can distill it down to its essentials and make it both interesting and accurate for children.
Right. And then also too, it's like, it depends on how deep you want to go into it. For instance, like why is an apple red is based off the refraction of like light and prisms and like all this stuff. And you're like, yeah, like how, yeah.
Well, you could do a rainbow. I mean, look at that rainbow. How did that rainbow get there? But I probably won't, because that would take me a lot of understanding of refraction and light and physics and things that I don't, it amazes me how little I know about the world. That's what amazes me. I've been around a long time. I've had lots of book learning, and I don't know how you and I are talking right now and seeing each other. I don't understand how that works.
Right.
So
it brings up that question for you, Maureen, because you're a former lawyer and a social worker. And so how did that influence the way you write for kids?
So I think that the legal aspect, I did a lot of writing and synthesizing arguments, right? That's what I did. This is another probably something I shouldn't say, but for some reason my lips are very loose today. I used to say, so I did a lot of legal writing. I mainly did criminal defense. So I was attempting to get people out of jail, essentially. And so people would say, what do you do for a living? And I would often answer, I write fiction. That's what I do for a living, is I write fiction. And now I really do write fiction. So it kind of prepared me, I think, to just, when you're writing legal briefs, you have to be super concise and clear. You don't want to be rambling on for pages. You want to get to the point very quickly. And I think that did help. So, and social work, I don't know if that helped a whole lot, except that I love kids. Like, I love talking to them. I love hearing what they have to say. And I just wanted to stay more in that realm.
You kind of mentioned it already too, like as you're working on it, of like which one had the most interesting origin story. Was that the red ball? Is that the most interesting? No, you said the crayons. Was that the most?
No, the most interesting origin story, I would say, is the puppy.
Okay.
Because my daughter, one of my daughters, adopted a puppy from the shelter, and recently, not at the time I was writing this book. So then that was like, how does that work? And so we went through, the story of the child has the puppy, but then we go all through, like, all the people who got that puppy healthy and clean and ready to be adopted at the shelter. So I think it's like sort of so there's a lot of people who don't get enough, like, praise. Do you know what I mean? They don't get enough airtime. Like, the janitors who were cleaning at this cage, they're not cages, but the pens at the shelter, that sort of thing. There's vets, there's volunteers, there's the custodians, and then somebody who found this puppy, alone and scared, and brought the puppy to the shelter. Like, there's so many hands are involved in that, and it's really, really important to me that children understand how interconnected we all are, and how much work other people do, right? Like, the real work is these people. Like, I'm a lawyer, right? I type all day. That's what I did, or speak in court. Like, the world can probably survive without a bunch of lawyers, but, like, not without the farmers, not without the truck drivers, not without the custodial staff, right? And I feel like those people are kind of, like, sometimes invisible, and I want to make sure that kids understand this, that there's a lot of hands involved here, and they're working real hard to bring you this thing. I want them to have, an appreciation for kind of, the miracle of it all, really. The fact that you can eat an apple in February, like a fresh apple, that's crazy. How does this happen? I think I don't want children and other people to take that kind of stuff for granted.
Right.
There's a lot of stuff going on in the world, as you probably know. There's a lot of negativity, but the world is kind of miraculous, if you look around. Like, you look at some of these trees in back of me, right? Like, I don't, it's amazing. There's a lot of joy and a lot of beauty still left in this world, and I want children to see that and enjoy it. I mean, not in like, oh, you must enjoy this stern way. I want them to have joy and wonder at the world.
Yeah. And so, Maureen, if people want to learn more about you and your work, where's the best place they could go to?
So they should go to my website, MaureenDevlinAuthor.com, all one word, except the .com part. And that will point you to where it'll have more information about the books. It will also point you to where you can, if you so choose, to purchase the books. They're on Amazon, they're on BarnesandNoble.com, they're on Ingram Sparks, they're and a few other places. So you can learn more about the process. You can see little previews of the books.
Yeah, and also go to your local library and request your local library to carry.
Yeah, do that. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
So, yes, getting these to press has been a very interesting experience, and I want to make sure that another thing you haven't asked me yet, you probably will, is what advice if I could give advice to other authors or would-be authors. It's just if I can do this, anybody can do this. Like, I'm like, if I can manage to get these things, out in real time, so can you. And everybody, everybody's got a story, right? Like, it doesn't have to be this same kind of story. Everybody's got something to say. Just don't be scared. Just don't doubt yourself. Just do it. Not to put your fingers to the keyboard or your pen to the paper, and go for it. Just go for it.
Yeah.
The world needs more books, more stories, more pictures.
Exactly. Yeah. This is perfect. Thank you so much, Maureen. It was great chatting with you. And come
You
back
too.
on next time you have other books.